to the community who's on the call. I hope everyone's staying safe and well. And I think I'm going to turn it right over to Dr. Sheepboy for our update on our reopening plan, which everyone is very excited for Monday, and everybody has to start crossing their fingers for Monday.
Perfect. So I'm going to just present my screen.
Oh, and if everybody could go on mute. And also, Andrea, if there's any questions, can you send them to me? And as they come in, can you send them to me? Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Dr. Sheepboy. Go ahead.
If someone could just let me know when you can see my screen. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So first off, again, thank you to the board and to the entire community for allowing us to present an update. Most of what we're going to present today will be a review of the last 3.5 months, give or take. But there's a few changes, and I'll highlight those changes for the board. Certainly, we'll take questions from the community and from the board at the end, or obviously the board can interrupt at any point. Guiding principles remain the same. Health and safety is number one, high quality instruction regardless of delivery, flexibility and responsiveness to changing conditions. I think we're going to learn a lot more about that soon, and planning for progress and not perfection. We have been working with a green, yellow, red format for, again, the past few months, I think it is. It just seems like it's been a long time. So I'm not going to go through the things that are just regular green or regular yellow or regular red, just the ones that gradient color, because those ones reflect either changes or just things we want to highlight. So again, transportation, we are in good shape. Routing is in good shape. We're good to go. Food program, both in hybrid and balancing the needs for kids in and out of school, we're in good shape, and Denise can speak to that if there's any questions on that. So gradient green now was yellow for the longest time, was concerns about the ventilation system. The audit is done. Work is progressing. Units are delivering and bringing in outside air. There's a few actuator valves that need to be replaced, and those are the ones that adjust the heat. They make the heat go on and go off. And again, if there's concerns about that, Tom can address that, but TBS has been working diligently in all of the buildings. And the board will remember that we also did put the Medify air filter systems in every classroom and office space in the district. We did need to order about 10 more of those, and they are on, they're expected to be delivered soon. So again, cleaning our rooms. We just finalized the schedule to clean every room at the high school between every period and during each period to make sure that everybody is safe and well, not just clean, but also disinfect. So it was a good time to set that schedule together. Again, some of the yellows are still very yellow, and that includes staffing of substitutes. Teachers, substitute custodians, substitute nurses. We need people who are willing to come in on, an hour, a couple hours notice. We did one recruitment already. We have 2 people coming to the board today. We have ongoing recruitment for substitute teachers and custodians and nurses. And tonight the board will be asked to approve a contract for a contract nursing service in the event that we need nurse coverage in one of the buildings. Again, these are still just regular yellow. I did make a change to this. This was that gradient pinkish red, and I made one even more darker red, not to be a concern, but we do anticipate, as every school has, that there may be abrupt shutdowns of classrooms or of grades or of schools when people exhibit symptoms and are confined or confirmed positive for COVID. And I have highlighted over the past 6 or 7 weeks, I think it is now, that New York State has a school COVID report card, and you can Google those words, school COVID report card, and they'll come up to this link. And certainly anybody can look at what our numbers are versus what everybody in the county. You can read any day about what's going on in the county. and around the region and around the state. And I will say that, the board, I hope got my letters the last couple weeks. One of the things I highlighted on the 23rd of October, and then again this week, was the fact that we all, families, need to take responsibility when we're not in school and discourage the social gatherings of our children and our students on weekends or in evenings and things such as that. It has been shown not only in colleges, but definitely in schools, and recently in schools in Orange County, that these gatherings are leading to contagion events. And those contagion events, in some cases, have shut down neighboring schools for a week or more, even in some instances, as contact tracing takes a fair amount of time. Just something that we have to be mindful of. In addition, a change here is that the governor, instead of having our regions, now has the zones, the red, orange, and yellow zones. We are in a green zone, which is always nice because that means we can operate SOP, standard operating procedures. We can open and we can perform in our hybrid. Schools that are either in the red or the orange have to figure out a way to test, even though schools themselves are not really authorized to test. But what we're finding is schools in some red and even some yellow areas, because they don't have the ability to test, and we're not hospitals and we are not universities, we are public schools, and we can't actually force children or faculty members to test per se. Some schools are electing to stay closed until their zone changes, and that's something that we just have to watch for. We don't know. Again, we're in green now, but there are some yellow and orange zones not too far away from us. So, and then again, just as far as challenges, can the protocols that we have in place as dictated by New York State Education Department and the Department of Health, do they work? We're hoping, we're praying. So I'm not embarrassed to say that I'm praying that everything that we've been doing over the past 8 months has been geared towards the health and safety of our children, and that we've been doing since we started our reopening plan meetings has been geared towards the health safety of our faculty, staff, and our children. We're confident. A very large percentage of the infections or positive cases among students in public schools around the state and the region are from those that are not in person. So we're hoping that everything we've put in place is going to keep kids safer than even if they were at home. So, and then lastly, just the funding uncertainty that has not changed, and we will hopefully have a better picture of a federal aid package after resolution of the election process. So that's on the challenges and barriers to a physical return. That's the update for that. Again, the plan to transition, Dr. Theodore, if you want to just speak to this slide, it's more historical now, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, it's very nice. Definitely more historical as we approach Monday, and we are looking to start our hybrid learning schedule effective Monday. As we've been talking about all along, students have been assigned to cohorts, or they've selected to maintain their status as a virtual learning student, and all systems are go.
Thank you, Andrew. Again, just some reminders of some of the things that we have put in place. Small class sizes, again, that is the basis of our hybrid model. So a class of 20 is now 2 classes of 10 on the A or B cohort. Requiring face masks. We require face masks. I know that there have been people who think that they shouldn't have to. You have to wear face masks in our schools. We do have provisions for mask breaks during meals and at teacher discretion. Okay. When impossible, minimizing student movement, encouraging hand washing, and basically everything that we have been saying over the past 4 months that is on this slide. Again, We have talked in the past about athletic considerations, and really I've distilled this into just a couple of slides now. We've already gone through a lot of our timeline from when the governor said we could do things, New York State Public High School Athletic Association said we could do things, and then Section 9 gave us different dates. So our priorities have remained the same: safety of our student athletes and our coaches, equity and access, and maximum participation of our student athletes in the various programs. Again, in addition to the New York State Public High School Athletic Association return to play guidelines, the Department of Health from the state indicated that they would send us specific guidance. They never did. That was, I want to say, 6 or 7 weeks ago. They did not. But today we did receive draft Section 9 guidelines and are finalizing our own return to play plans. And we anticipate having winter seasons, and I will be recommending winter coaches be appointed this evening. Health and safety preparations. Again, we use thermal scanning equipment. We expect that everybody will have their temperature checked prior to coming to school, but also when they're walking into our buildings. We ask families to monitor the symptoms of COVID-19 among their own child or among themselves if they're a faculty member or staff member, and stay home. We do require a daily health COVID screening tool every day for faculty and staff, and frequently for our students. And I'm going to speak more about that in a minute. That was a point in a couple of the letters we sent home over the past couple weeks, and we're going to highlight it a little bit more today. We're not going to allow visitors in our buildings on a regular basis as a general rule. We want to minimize outsiders coming in, and social distancing is the letter of the day. So again, we have our COVID screener, and this comes out, and there's been a couple questions. I'm going to try to address those. This comes in an email to you. It comes in different times of the day. It is set up. This slide, I just need to add one other thing to it. But Tuesdays, our maroon cohort will receive, the parents or the guardians of our maroon cohort will receive an email saying, please complete the COVID screening. Wednesdays, not on this slide, we added that. Wednesdays is our virtual academy only. And people say, well, why are we doing it for virtual academy only? Because a lot of our virtual students may be involved in interscholastic athletics, or they may be involved in extracurricular activities that involve them coming to the buildings. And this way, we don't have to have them do paper forms, and we don't have to have them do visitor forms, because they're not visitors, they're our children. So that's why we included them. And our gold cohort will do it on Thursday, or the families of them. Do want to just explain that we've got a couple questions. Said, well, why are you doing it on Tuesday versus Monday for the maroon? Well, we're doing it 1 day a week for each cohort. So our maroon cohort meets on Mondays and Tuesdays. Monday is, of any day of the week throughout the school year, Monday is the most frequent day off for a holiday or for any of a number of reasons. So we elected to do Tuesday so that we would get the maximum reporting in. People said, well, I would do it anyway. Yes, the people who are telling me that they would do it, I guarantee would, but other people wouldn't necessarily on a day that there isn't school, they wouldn't necessarily do it. And plus, then when we came back on Tuesday, we would actually not have that access to the information. We would have to go back into a historical file to pull it. So if we do it on Tuesdays, it makes more sense for us. And we've had people say, well, why don't we have families do it every day? And the simple answer to that is the letter of the guidance says periodic for our students. And I believe that they put that in there for a very specific reason. We get email fatigue. Anybody who works behind a computer or gets a lot of emails, we get email fatigue. And sometimes if you get the same thing over and over again, like letters from the superintendent, then you may not pay as close attention to it. And our goal is maximum participation. So I did put here that no one can enter the facilities if the screening has not been done by the day, and that is the day it's due, and that is how we're going to follow through. I do want to speak to what it looks like. It's a very simple form. Looks like this. This is mine, Francis Sheboy. This is the one from a couple weeks back. I just click yes, yes. I'm sorry, I click no. If I click yes, I'm going to get a frowny face instead of a green thumbs up. but no, 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 no. Then I certify. And I think that maybe some of our families are seeing the green thumbs up and thinking it is done. There is one more step there, and that last step involves clicking that submit button, because that's how it comes to us. Because we've been reaching out to families and they've been saying, but I completed it for Frankie. If you don't click to submit, it does not go through to the system. Again, we have been stressing the expectation. This goes back to the COVID screening. People said, well, how are you going to know if people are symptomatic if they're not completing the screening every day? Well, if they're symptomatic, they shouldn't be coming to school. And that's the reality. And the expectation is that families and faculty and staff assess our school community members for health and wellness prior to sending them to school or going to school or on the bus. Temperature should be taken daily. I take my temperature every day. And families should assess their children for the other symptoms of COVID. Anybody who exhibits symptoms of COVID or is sent home from school with symptoms consistent of COVID, and I sent this out in a letter just the other day, must have written clearance from a medical doctor. Somebody asked, well, what if my child has the sniffles? I want to send them back to school. You cannot do that. If it is a symptom that is consistent with COVID-19, you must have written clearance. Well, what if they have a pre-existing diagnosis of asthma? If we have a recent medical documentation from a health practitioner that says that, and that these specific symptoms are related to an alternate diagnosis, then we would allow them. Absent that, we cannot allow people who are exhibiting symptoms that are consistent with COVID-19 to enter our schools. And again, something we've been stressing is that we must have emergency numbers for our students. We have to have the ability to have people picked up within 30 minutes. Again, same things. Masks must be worn, hand hygiene, shields for staff. I apologize to the board. Shields for staff, cleaning protocols, sanitizing, and social distancing. And again, what if somebody gets sick or arrives to school ill? We have specific protocols with the school nurses. The school nurses will determine if somebody is going to go to the COVID-19 isolation room or to a regular sick area, and isolated individuals will be supervised and sent home. We do have a very good relationship with the County Department of Health. We have a hotline number. They are outstanding. There's a dedicated nursing staff there. The epidemiologist is very responsive to our questions, and we're taking full advantage of that, even when we've not been in the building. As far as transportation, I spoke with Jay Brisman just the other day. He's ready. The protocols that they've had in place in their other school partners have been very effective and working very well. And these are what they are: requiring masks, safe distance and seating. Please do not send your children on a bus if they are ill. Evaluate the transportation cleaning and safety protocols. The buses will be cleaned in between routes, and deeper clean at night. And again, West Point Tours has been very good with partnering us and getting us ready to reopen from a transportation perspective. And they've been transporting our CTEC students since September. Food services, again, we will be providing food for our students in both the buildings as well as kids who are on a remote day or full virtual. So Denise has been great about working with Kathy Coakley from Aramark. And Denise, I don't know if you wanted to add anything there.
No, it's just that I just want the board to know, and anybody that's listening, that it's going to be difficult for the first couple of weeks, because not only are we feeding students Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, but we're also serving students Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Right.
So Kathy is coming up with a plan to actually try to incorporate in a couple of weeks, possibly after Thanksgiving, to have like chicken patties and have that as a meal. So everything's not just a cold sandwich or something like that. So we just keep in contact daily so that we can just keep moving forward. So if anybody ever has any questions, they could reach out to me directly.
Thanks, Denise. And then next steps and questions. The board has, I think, about few months ago, asked for a bi-weekly update on our progress towards bringing our red to green, and we'll continue to provide status updates even after we open up, continuing in 2 weeks from today on November 19th. As Dr. Teodor said, we are ready, and we are excited, nervous, anxious, can't wait to have our kids back. But we are as ready as we can be, and we certainly welcome questions. We will continue to meet and plan and work and revise and hone our practices and protocols. We had a goal of getting our kids back to school. Now we have a goal of keeping everybody healthy and safe in our schools and keeping them in our schools. And again, questions can be sent to our email at reopening@hffmcsd.org. And that does conclude my presentation. So I'll take any questions from the board.
Frank, I had a question. I had put it in the chat. So if a child is experiencing some symptoms, whether it's COVID or not, right, but they're symptomatic in some way, sneezing, coughing, wheezing, whatever the issue is, and they shouldn't present at school, will they be able to, jump on in some way remote in a way that's seamless so they can continue to learn?
So the short answer is yes, and I'll allow Dr. Teodor to jump in on that one.
Yes, they can participate in their classes that they would normally be attending. The schedule is the same for the students if they are remote or if they are physically in the building. So if they are out due to symptoms and they're healthy and able to attend classes, they can join the class remotely.
So is there something that parents should do if that's the case in the morning when they decide their child shouldn't go to school that day? Should they be reaching out in some way to the teacher or the administration, or?
I don't know that we have a specific protocol in place in terms of joining the classes. They would do what they normally do if they're healthy and they're well and they can join the class, but they just can't be in school.
Okay.
It's probably valuable for a family to reach out to the building just to let them know, so that in the unlikely event that we need to conduct a contact tracing, we would know who was not in the building.
Right. Well, and not only that, because the sniffles could certainly turn into something else as well.
Yes. Exactly.
I know that Miss Brand is preparing FAQs, and that actually may be a part of that, but that's a great question, Faith, and I will reach out to Debbie so that we include that in the FAQs.
Thank you.
Okay, so do any of the other board members have any questions for Dr. Sheboy on his presentation? And Andrea, are there any email questions? No questions? Okay.
No questions at this time.
And I'm sorry, can I say one other thing about the screening?
Please.
So in the past week, there have been families that were in either the maroon or gold cohort who have elected virtual academy. We do a manual poll, so you might have gotten the email on the wrong day. We're going to update that about every other day just to make sure that we're cleaner on that. So I know that we did have a couple people reach out and say, well, my child's in the virtual academy, but I got it for the gold this week. That's because when we did our data poll, that child was in the gold. So we're working to clean that up, because it's not an automatic data poll for that. Everything else is an automatic data poll, but the cohorts is not. So I'll clean that up and I'll work on it.
Thank you.
So,
And
I don't have a question, but I would just like to say, and Andrea had mentioned it a little bit earlier. Last night we had an Orange County School Boards meeting, and Andrea and I were both in attendance. And at the end of the meeting, everyone that was in attendance went around and talked about how things are going, sort of like a wellness check for each of the districts in terms of their reopen plan and where they're at. We were the only ones on the call, and Frank, correct me if I'm wrong, but we might be the only ones in the county who hadn't opened for in-person instruction to this point, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, there's a couple that haven't fully opened, certainly.
Right.
But
right.
yeah, we're a little late to the show, but we're
right. I think we're certainly the last to have some form of in-person instruction. However, every single one of those districts has struggled. Every single one of those districts has had to shut down at one point or another. So I know that there's families out there that are very frustrated with us being late to the show, as Frank just said. Although I don't think that we were. I think that we did this in a way that was very safe and cautious for kids and for our staff. I'm very proud and stand behind the decisions that we made. And I just want to remind folks that this could be a hard pivot at any moment. And I think that we're completely prepared for that if that is to happen. But all you keep hearing about is the schools that are shutting down again, and the numbers going up. So we're jumping in just as things are starting to, in my opinion, this is just me speaking, to spike again, and that's a little frightening to me.
And Faith, that was a point I was going to make, and I really appreciate that you did it. You said it a lot more clear and concise than I could have. But I believe that, even some of the schools and fellow board members from other districts, they're struggling big time with these emergency shutdowns that they're having to do, some in the middle of the day, where they're actually having to send kids home because they don't have enough room for them in safe areas. So I think that we've learned a lot from our counterparts and our cohorts, and it's really going to help us when and if and when we ever have to do that. And again, I think everyone understands that it's happening all around us. So
yeah.
It's going to be
and I would just like to say too that I really do hope that everyone understands that. I don't know how many people are on and are listening to this, but just being out in the community, it's hard to bite your tongue sometimes. And when you overhear people saying, don't they care about the kids? That makes me really, really upset, because every single decision that has been made for the best interest of the kids. So when you say, I hope everyone understands, I really hope people start to get that and really understand that that's where the decisions are driven from. And that is the sole place that the decisions are driven from.
Right. And please understand that, because I, along with every other board member, has watched this administration really, really work hard in the past several months to make this what it is for Monday. And I'm very proud of what's going to happen. I really am. I'm very proud of the condition of the schools and what we see and what we've heard. I think it's phenomenal. So I thank you all again. The one thing that I know, and I saw her on the call, Frank, you touched on it a little bit, but it does have to do with reopening, and that's athletics. So I know today that we received the Section 9 rules and regs for reopening, as you mentioned. So I saw Mrs. Crow on. Is she still on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Hi, Mrs. Crow. So can you just quickly give the community an update on where we stand with our quote unquote winter sports starting, and is it still a go, and the protocols and things like that, and let them know what we're still working on.
Right. Well, I did just receive today. I passed it on to Dr. Sheboy, Debbie Brand, and yourself, Ann, and you can, I guess, email it to the rest of the board so they can see it themselves. But Section 9 has released contest guidelines for winter 2021. What this is hopefully going to provide is consistency throughout all of the member districts so that we're all on the same page. There were 14 different components to that guideline. And then they also gave us a form, which, for example, when we travel to another school, we're going to have to provide this roster to the host school. And we're going to have it all filled out. It's going to be the coach's responsibility to make sure that each child has completed, which Section 9 also provided a separate COVID screening form before they would enter a bus, have their temperatures taken before they enter a bus, provide that information, and bring it to the host school. One of the components in that document states that at the present time, there will not be any spectators at any contest whatsoever until Section 9 feels that it's safe for us to bring spectators in. The district right now is exploring an option for all of our families, which would make them able to live stream every athletic event that occurs on the Waldo Wood Field and that occurs in the gym. More information will be available to you all by the next board meeting. I still have to work with Dr. Teodor, Dr. Sheboy, and Stefan and Keith to make sure that we can accomplish this. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Okay. And you'll put, Dr. Sheboy, you or Ann will send that those documents to the rest of the board. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll make sure they get out.
I
Yes,
appreciate it.
thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Mrs. Crowe.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so now I think we can turn it over to, are there any Board of Education comments?
Well, I guess I should probably comment that I, along with you, Anne and Frank, participated in the NISBA conference. And it was fantastic. And the thing that I knew I was going to miss by not going is, getting the swag bag with all the stuff. But I was very happy to see that we did get a swag bag. I'm already using it. I filled it all with my work stuff. So I was very happy about that. But just to save it from my my update later, it was very informative. I'm so glad that all of the sessions were recorded so we can go back in through December and watch those, which I plan to do when I have free time someday before that gets shut down. So it was fantastic. And I'm really grateful that I was able to attend that. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm definitely grateful I was able to attend. And actually, I found a lot of the sessions were extremely focused on things that are so important this year in our district: diversity, equality, COVID, they just were right on the mark. I didn't lose interest in any of them. And then the, what I call the speeches, the parts where they have the special people come in and speak, really hit home. So I'm so glad we got to participate, and I'm around halfway through. Visiting the ones that and watching the ones that I didn't get to watch. Cool. So they did a phenomenal job. The people that put that together was really good. So thank you again for letting us go. That was great. I know that Aaron had his hand up, so go ahead, Aaron.
Just a quick question for Frank. I'm assuming that the district isn't allowing outside organizations to use the facilities this winter, i.e. basketball for recreation.
Is allowing?
No, I'm sure that is not.
That is correct.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I just wanted to confirm that.
Yeah, we are minimizing outside users of the facility.
That's what I assumed. I just wanted to confirm. That was all.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. And again, we apologize to our community for that, but I think everyone understands why. So the other thing that I wanted to just inform the board and the community about is right now, the remote board meetings have been cleared through December 3rd. We'll wait to see what happens on that. The governor cannot extend executive orders until they have expired. So we won't find out until the night of December 3rd or December 4th, whether it'll be extended or not. But you'll see some changes because of that on the calendar that we'll talk about in the discussion items. So we'll talk about that. But for now, the board meetings will continue to be virtual starting at 6 p.m. until further notice. Once we can go back, and once we do go back in person, then we'll revisit the time of them. But for now, we'll stay with the 6 o'clock. And don't know if there was anything else at this time. Do any other board members have anything? Okay. Go back to my board doc. Sorry for going back and forth. Dr. Sheboy, superintendent comments?
Yep, just a couple things. Again, I found NISBA to be extremely valuable this year. Very timely topics, and like Faith, I am looking forward to having a little bit of time to go back and watch the sessions I couldn't physically attend. As Ann and I were comparing notes, it seems we did choose the same ones a lot, so it was kind of interesting. Today, I had the pleasure of sitting in on the NISCUS Diversity and Equity Initiative meeting. I joined that task force, and I'm looking forward to seeing, what more as far as information we can glean that'll be able to serve our children, our district better. Today, I did a walkthrough with John Sokol from BCA. As Scott had mentioned about a month or so ago when he was here with the board, or I guess here, that's an interesting term. But we are in real good shape budget-wise, and we're trying to package together some items to resubmit to SED. We're under a timeline, multiple timelines. We've got to get this project closed out. But in addition, if we're looking to get something to SED for a spring bid, summer build season, we really need to get that done probably by no later than the last week of December to SED. The good thing is the turnaround at SED is currently about 6 to 8 weeks instead of 6 to 10 months. So that would make things a little bit easier for that. And we do already have some things on that. EC1, the handicap accessibility in the back, the lighting and abatement in the auditorium, some additional handicap accessibility. So John and I walked around and I've asked him to keep a pretty good eye on it. He was also doing punch list stuff there. So, and then just the last thing is I do have county team meeting tomorrow, and I'll try to include something on that in my news and notes. And that's all I have.
Did we lose Ann?
I'm gonna.
No,
yeah,
I'm here. I was on mute.
I was thinking that
I was
Ann
on mute,
away.
talking
Okay.
to myself. So, Dr. Theodore?
So just some exciting news. I think I'll start with some great news, and I did share this with the board, but it's very exciting. One of our teachers, Kristen Magyar, who teaches STREAM, science, technology, research, engineering, art, and media, and also has just been instrumental in, supporting instruction as we moved to the virtual environment in March and continued in the fall, is being recognized as a 2020 NYSCATE Outstanding Teacher of the Year. And this year, and we're just so thrilled that she's being recognized at the state level for all of her work and how she has supported our teachers really at all levels and our schools at all levels. So it's really a pleasure for me to work with her and to just celebrate her receipt of this award. So that's very exciting. And then we are just, moving forward, a lot of professional development happening, and really making sure that the teachers are able to use all the new technologies that are in place in the classrooms, which it's exciting to see our new interactive monitors being used and really getting their classrooms set up so that they're able to meet the needs of the students that are in the rooms with them and also with the students virtually. So that will be wonderful to see everything roll out on Monday and move into place over the course of the next week. The other thing that we did receive notification today that the January administration of the Regents exams has been canceled. So that's the latest announcement out of state ed in terms of instruction. And just continuing to move forward and support our teachers and welcome our students as they come back to our schools.
Thank you, Dr. Theodore. Ms.
Pleasure.
Sidera?
Thank you. Good evening. On the agenda this evening, there was their network printers. Our copiers are considered network printers, and our four-year term is up. So just so the board knows now, prior to going to the consent agenda, that there is actually a $434 savings from, it's actually $434 less, the new contract, what we currently have. And the interest rate was 1.03%, and 4 years ago it was 1.72%. So I just want to share that with the board now so they have that information. And as we're so concerned about, and it is a huge concern about moving forward and getting our students back into school, Nicole and I sent out the budget worksheets for the 21-22 school year. So my focus is starting to switch to budgeting, which is going to be very challenging. The state controller came out the other day and stated that the state has seen a shortfall of $400 million in sales tax revenue. And they put a little blurb in there that everything's on the table, including monies for education. So we won't know probably till January when we receive our next state aid payment of if we're going to take a hit or not. And they're stating that it's going to be 4 to 5 years that we're going to see that the state will be affected by this, with COVID and the decrease in the revenues. So that's it for now.
I think Ann's on mute again.
Yeah, I was. Thank you. I'm having a problem with my computer. I'm sorry. Denise, what I was saying is that you had to really read that thing in detail when it came out to us, because the headline was reduction in sales tax for New York State. And it wasn't until you got to almost the fine print where it says, and that could affect following things, including education. I'm like,
Yes.
oh, wow, isn't that nice? Like how they just slipped it in there.
Yeah,
So,
that's why I want to make sure everybody
well,
knew
thank
that,
you for
because
bringing that to our attention. Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
Okay, Rachel, would you like to go first?
Sure, I would love to go first. Sorry, it's bedtime over here. So we have an exciting weekend actually at the fort. The Girl Scouts, under the guidance of Tracy DeSpirito and Kristen Mannering, will be gifting us a beautifully painted blacktop area for the kids to play on, so that when they go outside for recess, there'll be an additional dedicated play space. So we'll be able to really be super duper safe outside and still have a great time. So we're really excited. They'll be starting that work this weekend. So stay tuned. We'll send you pictures soon when that is all finished. Our teachers are getting their rooms ready and just absolutely gorgeous for our first day of school on Monday, and then our first day with our gold cohort on Thursday. And they have tons of exciting activities planned for the students, and they are so ready and excited to welcome them back into our school building. I encourage parents to check Class Dojo. There are a few videos that I posted up there that just outline and really show what dismissal will look like if you're a walker, and what arrival will look like, as well as what the protocols will be during the school day, schedule, materials, all of those things. So it's just been, we're ready. We're excited and we're ready, and we just want our kids back.
Thank you, Rachel. Mike?
Yes, Rachel, I put the TV on for my kids because they actually got into a fist fight over something. So a chicken nugget it was. But that's how it goes here at the Magaluf household. I'm going to echo what Rachel said. The teachers are excited. They were in the building today. They ran their routine, their schedules. We found some hiccups in our schedules, meaning double booked teachers in some rooms. So we're going to clean that up tomorrow. And we've been working after hours with the custodial staff. It's a lot quieter after 3:34 in the building. So I've been working, and Ms. Malton and I have been working with the custodial staff, making sure the rooms are set up, the thermal scanners are accurate, social distance dots are where they need to be. So really a lot of behind the scenes stuff to get us up and ready. But just a big shout out to Stefan, Keith, Dr. Theodore, Magyar for just providing professional development to get our teachers up to speed on our new technology, and being there to assist our staff whenever they need some assistance. So it's been a team effort, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of nervous energy. And I said it in the faculty meeting yesterday, it's your first day of teaching, but it's everybody's first day of teaching come November 9th. It's all new for us, and we're in it together. So We're excited at HFIS and looking forward to seeing those kids jump off the bus and get them in the building. So step off the bus lightly, yes. And just like Mrs. Adelstein said, families, please check Class Dojo. We're putting FAQs out, videos, information. So please keep checking that. It's very important.
Thank you. Mrs. Haberman?
Sure. Thank you. It's been an incredibly busy, hectic, and productive week so far. The freshmen and new transfer students participated in tours of the building this week. They walked around, they saw the location of their classes, and they practiced opening their lockers, which is always a source of stress for new, freshmen in particular and new students. So they got to do that. Student Council is planning a virtual game night for the freshmen and new transfer students, and that's planned to take place soon within the next couple of weeks. Additionally, they're looking to plan a virtual 5K where each participant runs the race on their own and tracks their time. Students, of course, begin their hybrid instruction on Monday, looking very much forward to that. The science teachers yesterday and today began moving into their new classrooms and setting up all their equipment, and they're very excited to work in their new beautiful spaces. This Friday, tomorrow, we're mailing out report cards. So they'll be available on the portal tomorrow as well. Teachers in the high school, as did, I guess, the other schools as well, did a live walkthrough on their classes today, traveling from room to room. So it took a lot, it was great because it took a lot of anxiety out of Monday, knowing where they have to be and when. Seniors finished painting their senior rocks today, and they'll be displaying in the front of the building soon. We're very excited to welcome our students. And I mean, personally, I'm looking forward to doing lunch duty. You know how much I'm looking forward to this. So we hope everything goes off without too much of a hitch. And thank you to our staff and our central administration for getting us to this point.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hordian?
Hi, everyone. So big excitement. Our clear masks came in. We waited about a month. They're light blue, which I'm glad I did not do the polka dotted teal because I don't think many of our teachers would have liked them. The next group is navy though, so hopefully they'll be better. And I was so afraid to get them out of my cart because I put them in the cart and I called Denise and I called Joanne. I'm like, I have 50 in my cart and I don't know how to let them go because I don't know how long it'll take to get them back again. But we were able to order them and they are coming in. They've already been shipped. So this was much faster this time. Let's see. All of our out of district kids are doing well. We have had some, schools that have closed for a day or two. And so our students switched to remote learning, but overall things are going well. I am doing a webinar tomorrow with Chris Siriano, who's the Assistant Commissioner of Special Education. So I think it'll be interesting to hear what he has to say. And they are taking questions. So I think it'll be good to, get a good perspective on how the ideas the state has in providing provision of special ed services. Otherwise, that's about it. I've been watching the videos that were put out by HFIS and FMES on coming in, and they're very entertaining, and I'm glad to know what the kids are going to be doing. So if I want to help, I know what to do. And that's it. Can't wait to see the kids on Monday.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Fargo?
Yes, ma'am. We're just continuing on, making last minute adjustments to everything. They're also fulfilling the many requests from the staff, this being their first day in, and we're just pumping along. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. There's two other things I wanted to touch on, and I forgot earlier. First off, I've had the pleasure, as I know many others have that are on the call, of reading to the children at the Ford School. And the first time I did it was exciting. The second and third time I did it, I am absolutely amazed about how those teachers are engaging kindergartners on the computer. To watch those teachers have control of a classroom, the students listening to the teachers, learning from them, reacting, responding, knowing when to go on mute. It just was, it was thrilling to watch. And it wasn't just one class, it was all three classes. So our teachers are doing an amazing job. All of them are, but to see those little ones so interactive, it made me so proud. So thank you to them. Also, I know that everyone on the board gets the board and administrator blue and white monthly updates. And the one that I found very interesting this month on the back of the sheet was about communicating constituent concerns to the superintendent. And especially now in this time when I feel that there is going to be so many concerns out there in the community, the one thing that it talked about is, as a school board member, you occupy a position in the community. Because of this, the public may often call your attention to potential issues in the operation of the school district. It's especially true now when we're worried about COVID and students' access to in-person and remote learning. So we have to continue to be responsive to the needs. Our way of responding is that certain concerns, such as those related to personnel and school management, should be resolved by the superintendent. So what are we supposed to do? Well, so no matter how much pressure we get from our community, we have to make sure that we promise that person, that constituent, that we will notify the appropriate person in the district's chain of command, and we need to sort of step back. So we make sure that we're not giving out any misinformation to our constituents, because every day things are changing in this new environment. Every day things are changing. So we could tell somebody, no, totally out there, but no, a brother and a sister are allowed to sit next to each other on a bus. And then the next day that guideline is changed. So we have to be very careful of information we give out. Please make sure, and what I really liked is there's an action inquiry request form that's on the back of the blue and white form. And if you just want to jot down in your memory or take a picture of it on your phone so you know the right questions to ask when you are approached by somebody, and make sure that you give that information to the proper administrator to get back to the person in the community. But out of everything I've seen, social media is great for some things, but for others, it's not appropriate. I see some misinformation being given out by not any of us, but others on Facebook that I'm so anxious to go out there and I want to correct, but I let it go because I know it's not my place. But it just led me to read this article and say how true it is, that we're really not in a proper place to be answering when it comes to, why did you do this or what's going on? It's best to take all the needs down and get them to the proper person in the district. So if anyone has any questions on that, you can just refer to our board and administrator thing from November. But it was a great resource for us, I think. So from that, we can go on to our liaison and committee reports. So the policy committee, please.
Frank, do you want me to speak?
Sure.
Okay, so the policy committee has been unearthed, and we've been working very, very diligently over the past several weeks on a weekly basis to get through a binder. I would show it to you. It's like this thick of policy. It's very, very thick, voluminous. And this would be our second time going through it. We had, really dug deep into all of those policies at one point, and sort of moved away from that work. And so we're redoing all of that, going back through with the second draft, and it's moving very, very quickly. We only have one section left to review. So it's been a very smooth process, and Frank is very hopeful that we will finish this before the end of the year so that we can do, what do we do next, Frank? We bring it to the board to review, or?
We'll get one more draft. So then we'll spend hopefully no more than a couple weeks just revising anything that's come up since we received this draft, et cetera. And then hopefully when at reorg, we'll be able to adopt all the new policies at once.
Yeah. So we're proud of that work. It's really been, I want to call it a labor of love, but it really hasn't been. It's been a lot of work, a lot of time and energy. So I'm glad that we were able to do that and get through it. So that's it.
Faith, I do apologize, Frank, for my absence from the policy committee. I had the prior engagement on the Tuesdays, but I am back free. So I look forward to reconvening with you guys and digging back into the policies.
Cool.
Thank you. I don't believe the wellness, health, and safety is met yet. Have they, Faith?
No.
Okay. The audit committee, there's been no change since our last successful audit that we got, that we discussed at our last meetings. Thank goodness. The facilities committee, we have an upcoming meeting. Thank you very much for setting that up, Dr. Sheboy. I know it's important and a lot of people have been asking questions about that. So thank you. We look forward to be able to give an update.
And if the
At the
committee
next
has
meeting,
any, I'm sorry, Ann, if anybody on the committee or anybody on the board wants the committee to look at something, just, they could send it to Tom and to me so that we can build the agenda from that perspective.
Thank you. Great point. The diversity and equity committee, it's been absolutely unbelievable. I don't know, Faith, if you want to add any comments in there.
I wish I could. I've really been unable to attend the last couple of meetings just because the time of day when they're held, I just can't get away from work.
I've been talking too much, so I didn't want to take control of this one either. But the breakout sessions and the leaders of this committee, it just blows my mind what they're getting accomplished and the conversations that have been taking place and everybody's input. It's just really, it's to me, it's breathtaking to me. And I think they're going to go places. And now we're in the process of signing up for and being assigned to these subcommittees that are going to work on different things as it comes to diversity and equity. So Frank or Andrew, I don't know if anyone wants to add anything on that one.
No, but I do want to echo Ann real quick. It's one of those things you wish the community could see because it really is incredible. The conversations, things that happen there are just, they're great. And, you just wish more people could, you can't always be a part of it, but to be able to see it and hear what's being talked about is great.
Also what I think is good though is that there are community members that are involved in the process, which I think is really good because it does. I mean, I know there's not a tremendous amount of them, but there are other community members that are invited and brought to the table, which is fantastic. Maybe between Aaron and Ann, perhaps when I can't attend a meeting, maybe we can just chat afterwards because I feel like I'm missing so much. But it's just something that I can't do as frequently as they do in the middle of my workday. I can't. As far as the NISBA conference goes, I attended just about every diversity related session that I could, and I wanted to do those in real time so that there was that interaction rather than watching the filmed one later in case there was questions or input or what have you. So I just don't want anyone to think that it's fallen off of my priority radar because it has in no way, shape, or form done so.
No, I'm in that same boat, but I'm definitely willing to, get back into it and have those conversations with you and fill you in when you can't be there.
Thank you.
Just to let the board know.
When is the next meeting?
The next meeting, Ned, is the 17th. November 17th at 3:15. But I was going to let the board know that, Aaron, to your point that wish the whole community could be there, we are trying to schedule some in the evenings, knowing that, Faith or anybody who wanted to attend, this is a committee that is probably the largest active committee we have. It is the most regular meeting committee that we have, and it's going to be bringing a plan to the board for adoption that has real action in it, that hopefully will, impact the experiences of not only our children, but some of our faculty and staff as well.
Mhm.
So,
The next one, Faith, is yours. It's the Oxba and NISBA. I know you already gave some, but did you have any other comments? I think you did.
Yeah, I did. So
Thank you.
just really briefly in terms of NISBA, I did send out some information during the Oxba meeting last night that had sort of a summary of the business meeting and the resolutions that passed and or failed. The ones that failed were ones that the resolution committee did not recommend anyway. So those were voted on because everyone brought them forward and they were all turned down. But every resolution that was recommended did pass, some with a narrow margin. Most were nearly unanimous in terms of passing. So that was good. It was a successful meeting. We did have Oxba last night. There was a presentation that was made by Brett Carruthers, who is the Vice President and Director of Risk Management for NYSER. So he gave an interesting presentation in regards to safeguarding data and, protecting with passwords and all sorts of things like that. So Andrea was in attendance as well. So she, was able to hear that information. They did send us today the PowerPoint, which I can send to you all if you'd like me to pass that on to you as well. And like I said, we did talk about some of just the commiserating sort of in terms of the other districts. In that email that I sent to you all too, I did point out that the next meeting is December the 2nd, and I'm not going to be attending that one. Happens to be my birthday. And so when I have those meetings, I work all day and then I have those meetings for 2 hours at night. I just would choose to not do that on that day. So if somebody else, they're still virtual right now, so it's rather convenient for it to be done in your home. Aaron and Jimmy are both my alternates. So if one of you wouldn't mind taking the hit for me on that one, I'd appreciate it.
What was the date again?
December 2nd.
Yeah, I'll mark that in right now.
Thank you. It's at 7:00 and it's virtual, but I'll make sure you have the link.
Yeah, I was going to just say, as long as I have the link, I'm good.
Thank
you.
And that's it.
Thank you. So the next one is athletics, and I think Mrs. Crowe pretty much gave her update. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, Mrs. Crowe?
Sure. We still are looking to fill 2 winter coaching positions. I do not have a modified girls basketball coach. I did interview someone for JV cheer, but we do have to wait for her to complete the courses. So that appointment won't come up probably at least for another month. If you didn't already know, our athletic trainer, James McEntee, accepted a full-time position in another school district.
Oh.
So we were without an athletic trainer. I have secured a new athletic trainer through Access Physical Therapy, the same company that we used for Jim. He will be starting with us on November 16th. I'm real pleased. I think he's going to be real positive for our athletes, our staff, and the district. So I'm really looking forward to that. I did introduce him to Dr. Sheboy. I brought him down to see Mrs. Haberman and Miss Brand, but Mrs. Haberman wasn't there. The last thing, and it's a real positive thing, it was nice today to see. The gym floor got refinished and we had the damage and they replaced all the wood boards. But sadly, they did remove the Indian head, but it was replaced with a beautiful JIO. And they came in today and put the polyurethane down, and tomorrow they'll put the second coat. So that floor looks beautiful. And I say my prayers every night that we get to use it for all our sports. So that's all that I have. Oh, I'm sorry. I will be having a virtual meeting with all my coaches to discuss return to play protocol before anyone is doing any off-season conditioning workouts, anything. We will be having that meeting to make sure that everyone is on the same page.
Thank you very much. The next thing is federal and state. We can't do much until this election is over and all in place, and then we'll start going after people again. Soon as we can get who we need to talk to, we'll be starting again. But for now, that little bit of time frame, we're on hold right now. But we'll be sure to get right back in it as soon as we can. Local, Any comments from local government?
Yeah, the Village of Highland Falls continues to monitor the water situation. The reservoir is extremely low, so we continue to ask residents to try to conserve where and when they can. I shout out to the town for continuing to send out those emails and e-alerts. We have talked to West Point about some potential sources there, and there's some other potential areas in the community that we might be able to draw from if we need to. And we have been in contact with Orange County Emergency Services and other organizations, just trying to see what and if anything we can do. So there's not much rain in the forecast in the next 10 days. So, just again, try to conserve where and when we can. We do have a special meeting this Saturday. So if anything changes with anything, I'll be in contact with Dr. Sheboy if anything should come from that meeting.
And Jimmy, I know that the village knows it, but I just wanted to, I thought of it the other day that I just was going to call Joe and just know, kids are going to be back in school starting on Monday. So whether we like it or not, the water usage is going to go up at all three schools to a certain extent. Obviously, we'll make sure we conserve as much as we can, obviously. It's just the point that we will be using more water in the schools. Now you could say they'll be using less water at home because they're in school, and I hope it offsets it to a certain extent, but I just wanted you guys to keep that on your radar too.
Yeah, it's come up in several conversations. So,
Okay.
we realize that, and
We'll
we're
do
hoping
our
that,
best.
yeah, we're hoping that our neighbors can understand that and assist, if anything, just to make sure that, we don't have a reason to have any issues at school. So, yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next thing is the tax cert liaison. Have you met recently on that?
No, we haven't, but I'm just waiting for some information from the attorneys from Jacobitz and Gubitz so that I can forward it off to the tax cert committee. So things
Thank
are
you.
quite just one parcel. You're welcome.
Thank you. We haven't had a West Point Community Council meeting. When we do, we'll be sure to give updates. Dr. Sheboy, community engagement.
So just a couple of things. We did have a community coalition meeting on Wednesday, and we had a presentation on the program called Hugs, Not Handcuffs. It was an interesting intervention type program to keep individuals out of the criminal justice system whenever possible. In addition, thank you to Marissa for working so diligently with Trish, as well as with Aaron and the town on making sure that the backpack programs for both the town of Highlands that they've been coordinating and with our children is able to run. So Marissa's been great at that. And I do anticipate being asked to give an update on our school standing and where we are as far as our reopening at my Rotary meeting next week. So I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Sidera, do you want me to do it or you can do it?
I've got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Consent agenda. Use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of its time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate, and that item will be considered and voted on separately, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issue. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following consent agenda as submitted by the Superintendent of Schools, number 2 to 29.
Motion.
A question before the vote?
Hold on. I need a second first.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Go ahead, Ned.
On number 8, the approval of the change order, can you give some further specifics of what the $66,100 change order encompasses?
Yeah, So short, Ned, absolutely. So that was the last change order on rock, which is funny because it came to us after the one that we just approved a couple weeks ago, but this is for rock removal that took place in July and August. And it was a fair amount of rock, 661 cubic yards of bulk rock for direct placement of underground utilities, overage on the original 1,000 cubic yards. So we should see no more change orders for rock removal. And if anybody's been to O'Neill for the last week or so, there are no more piles of rock. So.
And then, does that answer your question, Ned?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to abstain from 25 and 26 because Fran's on there. So I'll abstain from 25 and 26. Is there any question? Are there any questions on any of the other ones?
On number 10, what do we anticipate our requirements are going to be for the additional nurses? Is there, what does that plan encompass, Frank?
So what we anticipate is a normal year for our nurses, and our nurses are probably the most, they have probably the best attendance of our school personnel. I mean, they come all the time. They know that we typically don't get people, and we anticipate that. The reason we have this is a redundancy in the event that one or more nurses is out. We have contingency plans for coverage and having different nurses cover multiple buildings if need be, but this is a safeguard. We have, I think it's 1 or 2 people on the sub list, but they're not always available when we need them. So this is a redundancy, Ned. I'm hoping it's minimal, but if you need it, we have to have nurses, especially during a pandemic.
Absolutely. How much additional budgetary item would you anticipate would be?
It's hard to say. It's $65 an hour for an RN. So that, I mean, I'm going to bring a resolution to the board in the very near future to raise the price of a substitute, but districts that have done that still can't find them because shift work is shift work, and even paid $25 an hour, an RN could make $45 to $60 an hour working an extra shift at a hospital. So I'm hoping it's minimal.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I
Any
would,
opposed?
I would be aye, with the exception of a no on number 8, the change order.
Okay. I just need to ask why, Ned, because we needed the rock removed or the project wouldn't have finished. So I think that the board, I'm asking you why.
My feeling is that it was broadly known that our entire property encompassed a tremendous amount of rock. And I just have a problem with the additional on those items.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. All in favor was aye, except for Ned is negative on the change order. Hi, Julie. Okay. So then now we're on to items for discussion. So if everyone could please open the changes to the Board of Education meeting schedule, and we'll talk about that first. So basically what was discussed today is we moved some meetings around, not so much moved them around, but really looked at what we were going to discuss. We want to catch up on our presentations from the FMES and HFIS. So we'll be doing that at the next board meeting on 11/19. The 12/17 meeting, we will have our special education program. I most likely will not be able to make that meeting, but as it gets closer, I'll let you know. But as of right now, I won't be able to be there, but I'll make sure that I thoroughly review and ask any questions that I have of Ms. Hordinas before the meeting on 12/17. We also have confirmed that in January 14th, we will have our joint meeting with Garrison, which is great. I'm glad we're having it then with them. And it depends, as many of their board members that can attend will attend. And again, when it gets closer, we'll talk about whether it's going to be remote or in person, depending on the requirements.
And
The month of March.
can I
Yeah.
just add, the last year joint meeting with the Garrison Board, perhaps that was the presentation, I'm sorry, that was the presentation with regard to their students coming here. And Garrison, it appeared as though they had not done sufficient effort to bring their community members to the meeting. So if we can remember that as we go forward,
Well,
so we can get a greater benefit of communication with their community.
yes, I understand that, but also understand that that same presentation, it's a little bit different. It's given to the Garrison parents directly with the students. So we will make sure that we ask the board and the superintendent to let the Garrison parents know about this meeting. And obviously, if it's remote, give them the link. And if it isn't, invite them to come. But I just want the community and the board to understand that there is a meeting that is had with an academic presentation to the 8th grade parents and students from Garrison, that they answer any questions at that time that they can as well, as long as the visit when they're invited here. Correct, Mrs. Haberman? Yeah.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So
And-
yes, we'll make sure we do that. Go ahead, Faith.
I just have a question. When you were talking about the meeting on the 19th, being a presentation
one?
from
Next meeting. Yes.
and so it says 6 p.m. virtual. So that's them talking about the academic programming, right?
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Because the message you sent today talked about scheduling walkthroughs. So that's not what that
No,
is.
that's different. We didn't get to that yet.
Okay.
So I just wanted to, and then we took a meeting away at the end because we had one on the 3rd of June, the 10th of June, and the 17th of June. But by the 17th of June, there's very little business left. So we took that meeting away for now. We know with all graduation festivities and everything else that happened, right now we don't feel we need that meeting. If we have to add it, we will. Please note on this new calendar that'll be put on the website for everyone listening out there that there are certain meetings that we always have at 6 o'clock. Our arts recognition we have at 6. Our tenure discussion we start at 6 because it's usually a long night. Our top 10 seniors and top 5 fifth graders we start at 6 so we can make sure we can get as many people there as possible. The rest of them, as long as we're virtual, they'll start at 6 o'clock. Though the rest goes to tentative at 7 until we find out what the direction is for going forward on virtual. So these times will change. They're going to change if how we have our meetings change. So please stay tuned just keep on checking the website for any updates. The next thing that I wanted to ask is what night during the week is good for people, and I'll throw some dates out for us to do the walkthroughs at the 3 schools. And what we'll do is we'll start at the Ford School We'll leave and go to the intermediate school, and then we'll leave from there and go to the high school. So my guess is that Friday nights are out. Thursday nights we're staying away from due to board meetings. So are there days that are better, a Monday, a Tuesday, or a Wednesday, not good for people that we should stay away from?
So,
Okay.
and you said we're going to do all three in one at one.
Yes, in one night. We're going to get them all done in one night. I'd say after, like probably like, should we say mid-December, Frank? By mid-December,
Yeah, tentatively
you'll be
based
ready
on,
to go with
yeah, well, we tentatively based on conditions, just because, these are live visits. We want to make sure that everybody is safe and well, so, but tentatively,
So,
yeah.
so I mean, I'm just going to put this out there. You might think I'm nuts, but would a Saturday morning be better only because it's so dark out?
Well, I mentioned that, and Frank goes, but there's lights at the high school. I don't have a problem with the Saturday morning. I have to ask Dr. Sheboy, though, and the principals, because now we're asking people to come in on their days off.
Yeah, I would say that the lights will be at the high school, hopefully by December. But Saturday works for me. I can work with the principals and identify a day that might work for them. Or even if they couldn't be there, they could give me what they have. I know how to navigate the buildings.
Okay. So, is a Saturday morning, would that work for people? I don't want these things to go off any longer than they normally do. We're usually in a building for 15 minutes tops. I would say at the high school, we might be a little longer because we want to see, all the changes, but I would say 1 hour tops, start to finish, to get to each of the buildings and go through them. That's it. It's just a quick, walk through what's changed, what hasn't, how are things going, and that's it. So, go ahead, Gabe.
I just think, Ann, with the high school and everything that's being done, I think that's going to take an hour on its own because it's just such a big area to walk. Obviously, it's weather dependent for the outside stuff. If it's 20 degrees, we're going outside, we're spend a lot of time. But if it's a decent day and we end up doing it on a Saturday in December, we're going to want to spend some time and not be rushed through to see all the new stuff that's around the high school.
So, okay, good point.
It's at least an hour at the high school.
All right, I agree 100%. So thank you, but I don't want it to be 9 to 12 on a Saturday that we're doing walkthroughs.
Agreed.
None of us do.
So let's say 9 to 10:30. 9 to 10:30, that gives us an hour at the high school and a half hour, 15 at the Ford, 15 at the intermediate. And we'll go from there. So what Saturday, let's pick one now though, before, if we may.
What's Army Navy?
The 12th.
Say early.
Tell me, Gabe, what did you say?
I would say earlier is better. I mean, weather should be hopefully warmer. It's December, you never know.
Yeah, December
So
5th.
would be looking. And then if it's a bad day, maybe you move it to the 19th.
The thing is, being that it's the whole board, we do have to, Margot gave us direction today that we do have to notice it as a public meeting. So anyone who wants to attend can attend. So if we schedule it, it's hard to reschedule it because of the rain that day. But I think we have Julie on. So Julie, if the forecast is crappy on Friday for Saturday, can we cancel the meeting and move it to another day? You can.
Absolutely,
Good.
absolutely. Just give notice to the public.
You're going to be noticing it that has an alternate date anyhow.
Yeah, so let's do the 15th and the 19th, and then the rain date. Go ahead, Frank. The 5th and the 19th. Okay?
You may want to just make sure they're on ACTs or SATs in the morning. I don't know. I don't have those dates. I don't have those dates. So.
Okay,
hold on. ACTs and SATs are done for the fall at O'Neill. Rob, pretty sure.
Yeah, we have a date. I think SAT in January. I don't think there's
the SAT is coming up, I know, in January, but it's not a Saturday.
No, it's the 26th. It's a Tuesday.
Okay, so we're okay. I mean, you guys look into it and you let us know.
What are the dates again, please?
December 5th, Saturday, December 5th, 9 to 10:30, and know that it might go over a little bit. Okay? And the rain date will be the 19th. Okay?
Sounds good.
Thank you, everyone. That was easy. Now for the student calendar, and Frank, I'll turn that over to you.
Sure, there's just a couple things. As Dr. Theodore had mentioned, the Board of Regents canceled Regents for January. So we'll need to just revise those, the calendar to reflect that those are instructional days. They still counted as instructional days anyway, and we'll just make sure that families at the high school at least are aware that those are gonna be regular class days. In addition, we had sent out something that we received previously regarding the executive proclamation that Juneteenth was going to be celebrated as a holiday. And while it is not required that we change our district calendar to reflect that for this year, it will be in the future. And many districts are amending their calendars to make the 18th of June the commemoration of Juneteenth, because as a state holiday falling on a Saturday, it would typically be celebrated on Friday, or commemorated or remembered on Friday. And if it ever fell on a Sunday, it would typically be celebrated on the following Monday. So the proposal that we were going to bring based on discussion this evening is to make 18 June a day of remembrance for Juneteenth and have it be a non-school day.
I am fully in favor of that. Does anyone else have any that aren't in favor?
Nope, not me.
Not at all.
Nope.
Okay, there we go.
So
Thank you.
we'll bring a revised calendar for the board to approve at the next business meeting, which would be December 3rd.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay. Does anyone have anything else before we go into executive? Okay. Hold on, I gotta go back. Be it resolved that the Board of Education recesses into executive session for the purpose of discussing the employment history of a particular individual and matters made exempt under federal law FERPA, and to discuss collective negotiations under the Taylor Law with the Town of Highlands Teachers Association. The board will not be returning to open session to take action.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody, for joining outside of the board. So thank you very much for joining, and stay well.
Thank you.
And Stefan, let us know when you're ready.